What's up? How you guys doing? It is Monday, February 13th, 5:33 p.m., and we're going to talk a little bit about this Ohio train derailment and just how big of an issue. And I understand. I've talked about it a couple of times, but I understand I understand now why the media is not talking about it, and I also understand why the politicians are not talking about it. Pete Buttigieg, Joe Biden. I understand why they're not doing it, and it's simply because of they're all in the pockets of Northern Southern. I'll be completely honest with you. That's why. So spoiler alert. That's why. I should have said it towards the end, but and they are, and we have receipts. I could prove it. Like, literally, they're in the pockets. They are paid by Northern Southern. So let's just talk about this. On February 3rd, a train derailed, right? Something happened with one of its axles, and the train ended up derailing in in East Palestine, Ohio, right? The train caught fire. I think 22 or 23 of the train cars derailed and were severely damaged, including 5 train tankers that were carrying a chemical called vinyl chloride. I believe that's what it's called. Hold on. I want to get it right here. Yes, where is it? Vinyl chloride, yes. So, and what a lot of the people are missing is this, what vinyl chloride is, right? Vinyl chloride is used to make PVC and a bunch of other stuff, but there's a much bigger issue, and I believe I understand why they're not talking about it. I believe I understand why, because it's gonna cause mass panic throughout the entire area. So essentially, around 9 p.m. on February 3rd, a train derailed in East Palestine, Ohio, which is a town of about 4,700 residents, about 50 miles northwest of Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. About 50 of the 150 cars on the train ran off the tracks on its route from Madison, Illinois to Conway, Pennsylvania. The train, which was operated by Northern Southern, had been carrying chemicals and combustible materials, with vinyl chloride, a toxic flammable gas, being of the most concern to investigators. A huge fire erupted from the derailment, sending thick billowing smoke into the sky over the town. Residents on both sides of the Ohio-Pennsylvania border were ordered to evacuate as Governor Mike DeWine of Ohio raised alarms about a possible explosion. Now, local and federal officials started an investigation, which involved the National Transportation Safety Administration, or the Safety Board, and the Environmental Protection Agency. Now, of course, the derailment sparked concerns about air, soil, and water pollution once they were able to identify what the hazmat chemical was that was on board. They were unable to get the fire out. And this is what I don't understand. So they know that the vinyl chloride was leaking, right? They know at least one of the tanks was leaking. And when this shit gets in, or when this stuff, rather, sorry, excuse me, when this gets into the soil, it's bad, okay? One of the ways to dispose of vinyl chloride is to incinerate it, right? Which means set it on fire. But the temperature that it has to be incinerated is astronomical. It's like 1,600 degrees. I don't know what the degree of the fire that they had when they did the controlled release of the vinyl chloride on February 10th, because they were worried. They were worried about the pressure. So basically, vinyl chloride is transported essentially boiling, right? It's 8 degrees Celsius, I think. That's how it's transported. They were worried that it was going to explode, that this tanker was going to explode, and I believe that was on the 9th or the 10th. They were worried that this tanker was going to explode. We already had the leak. They already knew what was going on. They already had all the hazmat teams and everybody there, and this was going on for 3 or 4 days, right? So they already knew this was all happening. On I think it was February 10th, or maybe February 9th. Let's get the exact dates. Let me see. It doesn't say here. But either on the 9th or 10th, what they ended up doing is they had concern. I think it was on February 6th, actually. They had concern that this tank was going to explode. So they actually told everyone within a mile radius of the location to get the heck out, essentially, because they were worried that when these tankers explode, that essentially fragments of the tanker, shrapnel, could fly as far as a mile away, right? And I think we covered it. I think I was live. We were covering the shoot downs and all that stuff of the Chinese spy balloons, yeah, we paid it, and it's absolutely crazy because I don't understand the logic of doing a controlled burn, because the temperature is not going to get up to the point where it actually incinerates it. So in any like, as someone that just spent an hour and a half researching how to dispose of this properly, I don't know how any EPA people would have decided that this was a good idea. And granted, Northern Southern is the one that's responsible for the cleanup. I wonder if they're responsible for the disposition of the chemicals on the tankers. And if they are, who was the person who made the decision to do a controlled release, which essentially what they did is I don't know how they did it, but they punctured the tank essentially and let the vinyl chloride disappear, right? Burned it off. And that's what they said. It was a controlled release, except they didn't talk about what happens when this chemical, if it's not fully incinerated, what it turns into. It turns into essentially mustard gas, right? Or hydrogen, where is that? And the problem is you have to have like 15 different articles to actually find out what it is, because they don't want you to tell. Nobody wants you to actually know what it is. And that's the crazy part. If any of you guys have actually done any sort of research on this at all, the news, they're being extremely picky. Well, not really. They're being extremely misleading and dumbing down how dire of a situation this is, which is incredibly frustrating to me, because it makes it difficult. It pisses me off. I mean, there's no other way to say it. It pisses me off. But I guess what it does basically is once it goes up, the threat's not over. It actually makes, I believe, hydrogen something, and essentially mustard gas. They used to use it in World War I or II against our enemies, which is bad, right? And then what ends up happening is that new chemical, which is in the air now, bonds to water, even water in the air, right? And then it becomes a hydrochloric acid. There, geez, man, I was trying to think forever. Hydrochloric acid. That's what it does. And then that fuses or it turns into a different gas before it bonds with water. Once it bonds with water, it turns into hydrochloric acid, which, if you are familiar with hydrochloric acid, what it does, shortness of breath, teary-eyed, all that same stuff. But then it goes into the earth. And it's bad. Now, what's interesting about this is if they had simply released this stuff, if they quarantined the whole area, right, and they released this into the earth, I mean, and I'm not an environmentalist or anything like that, but if they did a controlled release instead of burning it off, which then spread it into the atmosphere, if they did a controlled burn, within 15 weeks, they could have quarantined the whole area, right? Just shut it all down, but they didn't want to. They wanted to get the tracks open. That's my guess. It would take 15 weeks for it. Well, then it's still in the earth. I don't know. I mean, there's no real easy solution on how to deal with this thing, but I don't know why they thought it was a good idea to burn it off. Maybe they were just more worried. I mean, you could have cleared off a 2-mile radius. You could have cleared out a 2-mile radius or 3-mile radius, whatever you think the blast radius would be. Clear it all out, get everybody out, and then just say, okay, let it go. You know what I mean? If you're going to do it, because anyone that I mean, if I could find it, and I'm not a science guy, you're telling me that all the EPA people and all that, they didn't know that what happens when this chemical is released, and if it's not fully incinerated, what it turns into? Are you telling me that nobody knew? And now we're seeing the consequences of that. Because the consequences of this, that hydrochloric acid has then come down and it started, contaminating water. It's started contaminating the land. It's contaminated. I don't know if it's the Ohio River, one of the rivers that American Water uses as their funnels. American Water supplies water to 25 states. 25 states. And so American Water is on the record as saying that they're not noticing anything, right? And they've set up another essentially tributary so they can get water if they have to shut off the water from this Ohio River or wherever they're getting it. It's insane. It's insane to me that that nobody's talking about it really. The media just finally caught up because I think now everyone's like, holy shit, we've been hyper-focused about these stupid spy balloons, and we're not paying attention to the fact that a huge amount of people are likely going to have lasting health consequences forever. Just to put it in perspective, in the 90s or early 2000s, one train car, leaked out this vinyl chloride all over Paulsboro, New Jersey, I believe, right? In a small town, 2,600 people. And of that one tanker that leaked out, there's been lasting health consequences as it relates to that. Like, I think I've read somewhere 2,600 connected illnesses, whether it's cancer or, illnesses connected as a byproduct of that leak, right? And that was a small one. You're not talking about 5. Actually, that one didn't explode. That one didn't, where it turned into hydrochloric acid and then, mixed with water and, created whatever it's doing. It's freaking insane, dude. It's insane. And what's going to happen? That's the craziest part. Maybe they just don't have an answer. You know what I mean? Maybe they don't have an answer on I would say stock up on bottled water if you live anywhere where the river runs. Anywhere where the river runs. Hold on. Let me try to find the link that I had open because I have so many links open, to be completely honest. Let me see here. The disaster is a reminder of the health and safety risks that accompany reliance on fossil fuels, blah, blah, blah. This is a hippie that wrote this. Over the last decade with the rising fracking, blah. I don't want to read that shit. Because here's the truth. This is going to... it's so freaking crazy. When you think about this and just... you combine this with all the other shit that's happened in the past 2 years, you have to be like, what the hell is happening? What the hell is happening? And again, where the F is Biden? I wrote that as the title of this video, and I mean it. And it's not just where the F is Biden. Where the F is Pete Buttigieg. He's the secretary for the Department of Transportation. And just like every other supply chain crisis that we've had, since Buttigieg took office, we haven't had. He doesn't give any statements. He'll probably give a statement tomorrow because they started calling him out. He had a speaking engagement today, and he didn't even talk about this. And this falls squarely on his shoulders, make no mistake. But you know what? One thing that not a lot of people are talking about, remember the railroad strikes that everyone was trying to avert, and we're worried about supply chain shortages and all that because of the railroad strikes. Remember that Biden intersected, on behalf of the country and forced the union workers to go back to work because they can't strike? Remember that? And he screwed over all of it. You know what? One of the things that they were doing, one of the union, and I'm not a big union guy, but one of the things that the union was doing, that the union rail workers were trying to achieve was overtime pay. You know what I mean? And regulations like that to allow them to work safely, which is insane. And maybe that's why Biden isn't talking. Maybe that's why Pete Buttigieg isn't talking, because they ran around and were like, oh, look what we did. We stopped this big, railway strike. This is amazing. Well, not really. Or it could be that Biden took $53,000 from Northern Southern for his presidential run in 2020. Who knows? But it's not just Biden. Just like remember when we had the baby formula shortage and everybody was criticizing that and criticizing the company, but they didn't actually pay attention, and that story died down really quick because the company the subsidiary, which they were the ones that shut down the baby formula manufacturing facility, but the company that owns them is a huge political contributor and contributed to everybody. And that's why that's why nobody ever talked about it. You're not going to hear about the political contributions of Northern Southern because, well, you can't isolate who it is. Because they donate to everybody. These are everybody. Republicans, Democrats, political action committees. This is just 1 year, guys. This is 1 year. Just 1 year that I'm scrolling through on the screen. Just so you all see. This is just 1 year. It's just 1 year, which is absolutely insane. But nobody cares. That's why we're not going to hear anything. Every single politician, whether you're Republican or Democrat, look, this is 2020 for them. Democrat National Committee, 54,000. Republican Senatorial Committee, 53,000. Joe Biden, 50,000. Donald Trump way down here. Why'd they only give Donald Trump 18,000? That doesn't make a hell of a lot of sense. Why would they only give Donald Trump 18,000? Oh, that's right, because he wasn't going to allow any of these businesses to take advantage of the American public, which is exactly what they're doing now. Because again, keep in mind, whenever there's a big disaster like this, guess what happens? Guess what happens? The responsible party is the one that is, one, responsible for paying for it, and two, they actually govern themselves in terms of picking everything up and the cleanup and all that stuff. They are the ones that submit the documents themselves to the EPA after in terms of cleanup, which is absolutely insane. I don't care who you are. You know what else is insane? Look at this segue. It's amazing. Today, I'm doing something special because we need members, coffee club members. Anyone who signs up today for a 6-month or a year coffee club membership on Pure Truth Coffee, the link is in the chat. Right, meow. I just put it in the chat. Anyone who signs up today for a 6-month or year coffee club membership, which is 3 bags a month or more, you choose how many you want delivered to your door, will be entered into a giveaway that I'm going to do at the end of the day. And one of you is going to win coffee for a year plus a $250 gift certificate. So basically what that means is I'll one-up it, right? So if the winner is a yearly member, they're going to get a $450 gift certificate and free coffee for 2 years. If the member is a 6-month member, then they will get a $250 gift certificate and coffee for a year. How about that? How about that? Who wants to take advantage of that? And I'll do that drawing right at the end. But here's the catch. We need at least 5. We need at least 5 people to do it so I don't lose my ass doing it. But if you want amazing coffee and you want a deal of a lifetime, this is the way to do it. All right? Just 5. 5 members. And it doesn't matter whether you're a 6-month or a year. It's just 5 total. And if we get 5 monthly or 5 members, whether it's 6 months or a year, you'll get it. The year is the best deal. You get a 22% discount anyway and free shipping on all coffee. It's a great deal. Anyway, let's back to this story. So this whole thing is absolutely crazy. Now we're starting to see that fish are already dying in the rivers. There's videos all over social media now. And again, I'm not a big fan of videos posted online because you're not seeing them from many journalists. You know what I mean? You're just seeing independent, people going out there and filming, and which is showing a bunch of dead fish and all that. I know there are other train derailments currently taking place. There's one in South Carolina and one in Texas today. Let's be honest with you, or I'll be honest with you. Train derailments are very common. They happen they shouldn't be common, but they do happen a lot, especially with trucks. At least, the one in Texas it killed the semi truck driver because apparently the driver was going over railroad tracks. There were no, incoming train or anything like that markings, and he went over and he was struck by a train and dragged 15 miles. That truck was, and that's the one that's going on in Houston. Now they are saying it's weird because you're getting conflicting reports. Social media is saying at least one of the 18 cars that derailed in Texas today, at least one of them was hazmat, but I'm seeing media reporting that said none of the container or none of the trains were hazmat. So I don't know what is true about that. And then the South Carolina one, I don't know, but there was another derailment. Derailments happen more often than they should. They just continuously happen, but it is what it is. You know what I mean? But that is what it is. Doesn't Warren Buffett have some rights or something convoluted crap with the actual tracks? No, yeah, but Warren Buffett doesn't own Northern Southern. He owns the BNSF. He doesn't own Northern Southern. Someone else owns Northern Southern. So Warren Buffett even the rail, I think the rail itself is owned by Northern Southern. It's the Northern Southern line. Now, this is going to impact supply chain. I don't know if they've opened the rail yet. That's another interesting one because that's a major line too. The Northern Southern rail through there, that's a major line. So I'm curious if they've opened the rail tracks or they're still detouring, which is going to cause supply chain issues as well. But again, we're not really supply chain issues when it comes to this time of the year. Doesn't really matter. We're not facing any big holidays where you're going to have anything like that. So that doesn't really matter. But yeah, it's killing me. But let's not forget that Biden has deep ties and the admiration of the rail industry. The speech he's going to have has to be written for him. Yeah, I don't even think he's going to give a speech. Which is weird, right? Because when you have like the water issue down south, remember there was a town down south where they had a water issue. where all the pipes were bad or something like that, and the water was coming out, horrible. He gave statements on that. And I'm not saying it has anything to do with race or anything. He's culpable for this. He's culpable. The union workers said that they were working too hard. They wanted overtime pay. They didn't want to have to be at forced hours and all that same stuff. Those are the things that they were trying to go after. And I'm not a big union guy. I'll say it again. But that's what they were doing. And Biden effed them all over. Remember, Biden ran saying that he was going to back unions and do all that stuff. And he's really kind of done the opposite if you think about it. Cutting down the Keystone Pipeline, which affected 30,000 Teamsters or 30,000 union workers. And then, the union bust or whatever the F you want to call this, the rail stop or whatever they were planning to do. He screwed over all those union guys because they didn't get, overtime pay, which is what they were trying to go for. And so now what do you got? You got a bunch of union workers where they used to, all these workers that are doing the inspections of these cars, right? Before the trains take off, it used to be 3 minutes. They used to have 3 minutes to inspect each car, which isn't enough time anyway, to determine the safety of a train and make sure a cargo is secured and there's no stowaways and things like that. But now I guess these rail yards are trying to cut that in half, essentially, and make it so that the engineers, and I'm not sure if it would be the engineers or somebody else, but now they're trying to make it so that you would only have, the people that are doing the rail car inspections only have 90 seconds per rail car. That way they can get the train moving. They make more money when the train's moving, all that good stuff, right? It's absolutely nutty. And nobody's talking about it. Nobody's talking about the fact, granted, tomorrow they will, because there's been a huge outcry. Isn't that weird? Because this has been going on in Ohio for several days, but the only time they actually give a shit about it is when fish die. Once the fish start passing away, then, all the lefties and this could unify America, let's be honest. This little bit could unify the left and the right, right? Because the left could be like, oh, environment, hippy, dippy, dippy. And the right could be like, F Biden, F Buttigieg. They're the reason why this happened. And both would be right. The environment is going to, this is going to be years and years and years. And it's going to affect everybody. It's going to affect everybody, which is crazy. Think about the health implications from all this stuff. These chemicals, everyone's just talking about the chemical of vinyl chloride. They're not even talking about the hydrochloric acid, which is what the chemical is now. That's what's going to be, high levels in all the water. And I'm curious because they say that the levels are manageable or still safe. I wonder if what they're doing is they're doing the air levels of vinyl chloride and not the air levels of hydrochloric acid or whatever else is in the air. Because guess what? Vinyl chloride wasn't the only hazmat chemical that leaked that day. In fact, here's the entire list. They just released this today, I believe. Where'd it go? This is the entire list of all the chemicals that were released. You got polypropylene. I'm going to butcher all these, whatever. Vinyl chloride, dipriol glycol. And here's all the, what it was derailed. This says burn, perform, blah, blah, blah. Here's another one, whatever this is. Dipriolphenylene glycol. Fire infringement, no signs of tank breach. Had small leak from BOV, unknown amount of that was in the car. Polyvinyl, which is nothing. This is what everyone was trying to pay attention, the polyvinyl, but that's not the big issue. This is the big issue. And then petroleum lube oil, diethylene glycol. Here's another flammable, isobutylene, some flame impingement, no signs of breach. Head breach, lost entire load, spill of fire of this, whatever this is. Let's see what this is, huh? Let's see what this is. Colorless liquid, blah, blah, blah. Is it hazardous? Yeah. Can cause headaches, dizziness, nausea, and vomiting. Dangerous fire and explosion hazard. This whole thing was gone. Let's see. Is it a carcinogen? No, it's not carcinogen. Up to rats. So, yeah, difficulty breathing, which is the same thing with vinyl chloride as well. So let's go and look more. Let's see, vinyl chloride, yeah. Benzene. No breach for those. So these are all the different things that have leaked, which is kind of crazy. No leaks. Vent and burn perform for vinyl chloride, which doesn't, it's just insane, dude. Unknown status. That's kind of crazy, but it probably burned up because they're combustible. So they probably burned up because these were all the rail cars that were affected. It's crazy stuff, man. It's crazy stuff. Was there another train derailment today in South Carolina? Yes, there were two. There was one in Texas and one in South Carolina. The one in Texas claimed the life of the truck driver. And I don't think there are any injuries in the South Carolina one. But again, you know, when I read about the one in Texas, there was no hazmat or anything. Well, from one of the news articles, here's another one. Houston, emergency crews responded to a train derailment along the East Tex Freeway in the Splendora area Monday morning, according to the Montgomery County Sheriff's Office. This happened around 7:30 a.m. along the tracks at Midline Road. The Texas Department of Transportation said the East Tex Freeway is back open. Splendora police said the train was heading south when a big rig crossed the tracks and was hit. The 18-wheeler was dragged, a half mile down the tracks, not 15 miles. I don't know where I got that. Police said there are no guard arms or lights at this crossing when the crash took place, but that the driver of the truck should have had a clear line of sight. Of course, they're blaming the truck driver for this. Not the fact that there were no guard arms or lights at the railroad crossing, which doesn't make any sense. I know when I was in Texas, I've seen that before, where you got a railroad tracks and you make a left off of like a local, access highway or whatever, and then you have to go over railroad tracks and you don't know. There's not even a stop sign. It's like check for trains. No, I never understood that. And to be honest, this happens a lot. This happens a lot where these trains hit trucks. Because sometimes the trucks, they have the landing gear on the trucks, so the landing gear will get stuck on the railroad tracks, and they can't do anything. They can't raise. Well, I mean, technically, you could save your truck, but I wonder if you get in trouble for doing that. Because you could jack up and, unpin your fifth wheel and pull your truck out and save your truck. You don't see the truckers do that typically. You see the truckers just, be like, oh, shit, we're stuck in the tracks, and then they bail. Rightfully so. I wouldn't stay there. But it's it's crazy. It's just all crazy. Hazmat crews are on the scene, but there are no leaks from any of the cars that are cleaning up some spilled diesel fuel from the truck, they said. It could be 15 hours to clean it. So this is another one where they said there are no leaks from the car, where I saw on social media people were saying leaks. And what's kind of interesting is a lot of people are trying to make some direct correlation. Like you can make a direct correlation to the shitty, DC policies and stuff like that. I get that. I get that and making that correlation, and the fact that Pete Buttigieg, who is in charge of transportation in the United States, he heads up the Department of Transportation, he had no business being in there. Think about it. When we had the supply chain crisis where all the ocean liners were off of the coast of the coast of California, remember that? And we had all the issues because of COVID. And all the container freight stations, the CFS stations down there, they couldn't get employees to work because the second one person would test positive for COVID, they'd shut down the whole facility. And so that's why all those container ships were waiting off the coast. Plus, China opened up and started sending all those, container freighters in. And that's why they're sitting out there for weeks waiting to get offloaded. You had that. Where was Pete Buttigieg? Oh, he was on maternity leave because they surrogated, I think, twins or something like that. They bought babies, essentially, which is disgusting in itself. But hey, you know what? Hopefully they're good parents. But he wasn't at work. He wasn't at work doing it. He didn't appoint it like a deputy to head up his department and speak publicly about it. So it was gone, right? And they stopped talking about it. And he talks about the trucker shortage, but he's more concerned talking about low bridges in New York and how they're racist. He's for the railroad strikes. He didn't really talk about those much either. He was gone, I think, for that too, wasn't he? And then, yeah, he was on vacation. Well, that whole thing was taking place. But again, the media made a much bigger deal out of that than it was. The railroad workers can't strike if Congress votes on something. They always had that ability, and that's exactly what they did. Congress, under Joe Biden signed it, fucked over all those union guys. He doesn't care. And then you have this big, train derailment and explosion and this hazardous material situation. And I don't think anybody from the government has held a big press conference. In fact, what they've done is when the governor has held press conferences, they actually arrest journalists that actually try to get to the bottom of the scenario. And that was only a one-time thing. I know a lot of people are being like, oh, it's a huge cover-up. They're arresting journalists that are asking pointing questions. In all reality, whoever that National Guard was, or the state National Guardsmen that that was accosting that journalist before the police even threw him to the ground and arrested him during that press conference, the News Nation guy. That National Guard member should be stripped because, I mean, he was the one that provoked the entire incident. It's all caught on tape, which is crazy. But with all of those things combined and knowing just how hazardous this whole thing is and how lasting consequences there's going to be, you know, health-related consequences for all these people, it's scary. Again, I have a hard time believing anything I see on social media anymore. So any of these videos that are coming out, I have a hard time, you know, believing that any of them are real. And if I didn't have the coffee shop, I'd probably just drive out there. It's not that far. Because then I could believe it myself. But we have the coffee shop now, so I'm kind of rooted here. But it's, someone said, I think about this, 80%, oh wait, what was it? Okay, finally, this was the cause, I guess, a broken axle on a train car, thought to be the source of the power. Yeah, we already talked about that. But yeah, that's what they're saying. There's other video where the train, where it showed that it was a braking issue, right? Because the brakes were on fire. Nah, they were on fire because they were trying to stop the damn train because the axle broke. Then they're trying to say, you know, a lot of people have talked about this because here's the thing. Everyone can argue about how you fix something, but nobody actually gives two shits about fixing anything. Let's be honest with you. Nobody cares about fixing anything in this country anymore. Nobody does. You know, because if this train didn't railed, who freaking cares about trains, right? I mean, everybody that's ever worked in supply chain cares about trains because typically, you know, it's cheaper to move freight from California to New Jersey. It's way cheaper than paying for a dry van to do it. You know, remember, I have a transportation background. So I used to do that all the time. I ran a consolidation operation. We would send trailers on from New Jersey to California, and it would cost us like $3,000 versus $6,000 for a truck. It just took longer, but we were running a consolidation operation, and we took the UPS fast train, so it didn't really matter that much. But that's just like April said. Everyone yells, points figures, but they don't offer real solutions to actually achieve anything. I mean, I see people doing it all over. All the conservative talking heads on social media are all like, oh, look, the Biden administration, what the hell is happening? Is this about? I mean, let's be honest. Train derailments happen all the time. The reason why this is a bigger issue is because of the handling of the train derailment after it happened. The fact is that they didn't address this, you know, quick enough. They didn't address it the right way. And whoever authorized them to burn off this chemical, they essentially sealed the fate of thousands and thousands of people, which is absurd. It's absurd. Let's be honest. That's exactly what they did. They all sealed the fate of all these people and the health implications that are going to come for the years and years and years. And it's not just like isolated to Palestine, East Palestine, Ohio. No, this is going to affect everybody. Drinking water, we're going to see a shortage of drinking water. We're going to see all of this stuff happen. And it's weird because think about all the big things that have happened over the past couple of days, right? Think about all these, today we heard Karine Jean-Pierre say with 100% certainty, these are not extraterrestrial, they're not aliens, essentially, that they're shooting down. Which, I mean, if you live off the premise that I do, you believe the opposite of whatever the current White House tells you, then you have to assume that these are, in fact, aliens. But for, the sake of common sense, let's say they're not aliens and they really are spy balloons, and we are now just shooting them down. It leads you to a much bigger picture, right? If they've shot down 4 different spy balloons over the United States in the past week, that's a telling sign that one of these countries, whoever has thrown up these spy balloons, wants to see us gone. That's my belief. And I know it's a really dark way of thinking about it, but that's what I think. Because why else are you going to go after it? Why would they spy this much? It's a major encroachment. Or what's even better, or what's more likely, is that the United States set up these weird freaking balloons themselves in order to shoot them down and blame China or blame Russia or blame whoever. Granted, they haven't really blamed China for this. Well, Fox News has. Fox News full on. Fox News wants to take them down. Fox News all like, woo, let's go get China. Sanctions. And we heard all these political, politicians too are calling for more sanctions against China because sanctions really work, right? Really instills fear. I'm not saying we should go bomb them. I don't know what we should do, to be completely honest with you. I have no freaking clue. No freaking clue. But it's annoying. Victoria just said, hey, what happened in Ohio? What you guys got to do, I'm not going to go back. You just watch the video from the beginning. It's 38 minutes ago. So start at 35 minutes ago, and then you'll hear everything about Ohio. Because that's the way that's the way it happens. Someone said they're not calling them balloons. Yeah, I don't even know what they're calling them. I mean, here's the thing. There's the one that was shot down over Lake Huron or wherever it was shot down in Michigan yesterday. That one was in octagon shape. And they said it was metallic and not a balloon. But they're saying they're spy things, and they're certainly not aliens. I mean, let's be honest. Any other logical explanation is more logical than saying they were aliens. But then again, this government, this administration has, and let's be honest, it's not even just this administration. The government in its entirety has been lying to us for so long. How do you even know what's real anymore? You know what I mean? You really don't. Because even under the Trump administration, all the shit that came out, it wasn't true. You didn't hear about any of the good shit Trump did. Most people right now, all the people that did like Donald Trump, most of you guys right now can't even announce it. You can't even say why you like. Name 10 things he did that were positive. It's the same thing as naming 10 things that he did that you didn't like if you don't like Donald Trump. Because people don't care about that. Shit, you could ask me 10 things about that Donald Trump did good, and I probably couldn't tell you off the top of my head right now. And I voted for the guy twice. But that's the thing is we don't actually have a firm understanding what's happening every single day in America. So now everybody gets to be like, let's talk about Ohio. So we forget about the spy balloons. Let's talk about the spy balloons. So we forget about the classified documents. Let's talk about classified documents so we forget about Hunter Biden's laptop. Let's talk about Hunter Biden's laptop so we forget about the January 6th shit. You know what I mean? It's a never-ending cycle of the next thing. And what we're doing as a society is we're neglecting the real shit that's happening. We're neglecting the fact that in the past 48 hours in the El Paso sector, they got 7,800 people trying to cross into the United States. They captured, I think it was like 100 pounds of heroin. It's just one border crossing sector. And they're neglecting all the shootings that happen across the United States. They're neglecting the fact that a guy walked into a police station yesterday and shot a Kansas City police officer or a St. Louis police officer in the head. Or it shot him somewhere. I don't know where it was. They're neglecting the fact that you can't walk around in cities across the United States because the violence is increasing. And now it's not just murders. They kept, especially in New York, they always said, well, the crime rate in New York is going down, even though murders were going up. They neglected to talk about murders. But they said, on average, the crime rate's going down. Well, you see the New York Post headlines today, or the front cover of the New York Post? Burglaries, all the other, crime rates that they keep saying are going down. Guess what they're doing today? Or doing now? They're all going up, just like everything else. That's what everyone does, and the Nord Stream 2 pipeline. Although that's not even news because we already knew that happened. And again, there's no credible reporting that the United States did it. You just got one journalist, a very well-respected journalist, that's citing unnamed sources. And here's the thing. We're never going to be able to figure out what actually happens, or we're never going to be able to hold anybody accountable until some of these unnamed sources becomes named. And that's the truth. I'm the kind of guy now that when I read something where they name an unnamed source, I'm like, oh, it's bullshit. It doesn't even matter whether I agree with it politically or whether I want it to be true. I dismiss it as bullshit. As soon as an unnamed source is mentioned, I don't trust the reporting, regardless of where it lies. It doesn't even matter. Steve Haller said, so you're naming the 10 things. We didn't have peace in the Middle East either under Donald Trump. We still had wars. We still had conflicts. We still had all that. I'll be honest, and like the shit Donald Trump is doing now with Donald Trump has like an army on Twitter, like it is fierce, and they're going after DeSantis like crazy, and it pisses me off. I hate it. I wish people could I wish DeSantis would have a conversation with Trump and be like, dude, I don't even give a shit about you. I care about the country, and I wish Donald Trump felt the same way because you don't feel the same way if you're just attacking other people that could potentially be good for this country. I never understood that about politics, is why they levy all these dirty things. And I do understand it because they want the money that comes with being an elected official. That's what they want. They want the money that comes with it. They don't care about anything else. We should care more about what's happening in this country than anywhere else. Like people are like, let's talk about how, Trump did the Middle East, blah, blah, blah. Crime rate was still rampant. Mass shootings still went up under Trump. They continue. Granted, they're way higher now under Biden, but cities weren't exactly safe. And this partisan divide has just gotten bigger because now the partisan divide, I was talking to someone today that came into the coffee shop talking about Republicans. Back when I voted for Trump in 2016, we had two sides of the Republican side. You had the rhinos, and then you had the MAGA, right? The MAGA wasn't this fringe right group that it is now. No, the MAGA at that point were people that truly just gave a shit about America, or at least that's what I believed. There were people that wanted America to be successful, wanted America to be good, wanted America to be prosperous, wanted America to be a place where we were proud to leave it to our kids. And over the past 4 years, or 6 years now, it's fractured so much. Right? Because now the MAGA movement, or at least what it's being portrayed as everybody else, the MAGA movement, they want to cancel all their opponents. They want to go and fundamentally change the education system. Not necessarily for the better either. You know what I mean? Yes, I agree that CRT and all that shit shouldn't be taught in schools, but not every fucking thing is CRT. We lobbied, the right, yelled at the left for canceling out books. We're doing the same fucking thing now. Keep in mind, my wife's a teacher. I know what books are allowed and not allowed in schools now. In her own district, a Republican district. I know what books she has to take out. It's fucking stupid. We're doing the exact same thing that we fought against. And the right does it all the time. Look at the perfect example yesterday was the Super Bowl. And look how just people literally watch the Super Bowl just to find shit they can complain about. That's literally, the commercials. Disney commercial was good, but there was no woke stuff. Blah, blah, blah. I mean, everyone wanted to complain about shit. That's all people do now is just complain. That's all I'm doing right now is just complaining. That's all we ever do. Someone said MAGA is still that the news is focused on far right. No, MAGA is people that care about America. I mean, I'm technically MAGA because I care about America. I think America should be the greatest place. And you know what? To some people, it still is. The greatest place in the world. I still think it is. But you know who else it thinks that it's the greatest place in the world? They think it's truly all the people that are trying to come into this country. People legally and illegally. They still see that vision that we all did, that Trump did, that everybody else did. But let's be honest, there's a huge segment of this side that is dirty, bro. It's as dirty as the left. And it pisses me off. Right now, what I think we need a conservative party that actually cares about it. Not this Republican shit. And we got to do a top-down change of who's in power in this country, on both sides. Nothing's going to be achieved. We need term limits. We need to get rid of the salary. All the same stuff. All the same stuff that people have been saying forever. That's what needs to happen, because otherwise we're not going to go anywhere. And then disasters like this in Ohio they'll continue to happen. You know what I mean? And that's what's going to happen. April just put a link in the chat because one thing you can do is help this small business continue to grow and be successful. As much as I don't want to talk about the news, I find myself doing it all the time. I said I was going to take a break from the news, but I can't because who else is going to be honest? That's the thing about what I do. I don't follow like a partisan line, or at least I don't think I do. Because I see the shit Donald Trump was saying yesterday, and dude, that dude is just dividing more and more people. And I'll be honest with you, and it sucks. I voted for the guy twice, I'll be honest. But every single tweet I see, I feel a little bit of, it's repulsive. Every single time he tweets, it's just negative bullshit. Oh, Ron DeSanctimonious, I didn't ask for this publicity. Oh, the shit about Rihanna, blah, 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 attacking her stylist. Who fucking cares? How about you sit there and talk about what you would do differently? How about you sit there and talk about how you would address this issue in Ohio? That's what is presidential. Stop with the bullshit back and forth. Any political candidate should be doing that. And just focusing on America, not focusing on your ego or anything else like that. And that's what pisses me off. That's what pisses me off. I hate seeing it. I'm not on Truth Social anymore. But everyone always retweets it. All the Patriot Takes and all these other people are always retweeting it because he's saying such stupid shit all the time. And it makes me remorseful that I even voted for the guy. Because I'm like, he's not the same. Granted, he's always been abrasive. He's always been just distracting, I guess, from the norm. But he is the norm now. That is the norm. And I see other people doing it. And now on social media, you see the clear fracture between conservatives and this far right. I don't even know, Republicans, let's just call them that. Because conservatives are saying, hey, listen, I don't care who we nominate as long as that person proves that they actually care about this country. And they're going to, follow our conservative values and all that stuff. And then you have this group that's like, nope, it's Trump, 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 no matter what, Trump 100%. And literally going after, I saw one person, Laura Loomer, today. I guess she's back on Twitter. So what's she doing? She's tweeting out about Ron DeSantis' wife, saying her real name isn't Casey or whatever the fuck, and trying to, smear them. How could you smear Ron DeSantis right now? You know what I mean? It doesn't make any sense. What we need is people to actually sit there and be like, okay, I care about America. This is what it is. And Ron DeSantis, for the most part, is doing the same thing. I know a lot of people are pulling a lot of, I guess he held like a town hall or something, and he invited Dominion, or an attorney for Dominion, to speak at it. And I don't understand that. I don't understand how that even happened. But again, we were one of the first news outlets in the country to report on Dominion, but we stopped. Do you know why we stopped? Because a lot of the shit is hyperbole. It's all, it's all made up. We know what happened in 2020. Okay, everybody knows what happened in 2020. But here's the truth. We didn't do what they did. We weren't going out and canvassing. We weren't doing, I had Democrats, door knockers come to my door when we lived in Florida. I didn't see any Republicans come to my door. We were in a red county. I didn't see Republicans coming to the door. You know what I mean? The left did, a horrible job they did an excellent job at ruining us, ruining the right and making enemies of the right. And see, Kate said, the Trump supporters versus DeSantis supporters are getting ugly online. I hate seeing it. Yeah, and I think it's fake. I think most of the people that are out there, Trump, 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 Trump all the time on Twitter, I bet they're fucking liberals, bro. They're the reason why we lost in 2020. Seriously. And that's why they're doing it. They're trying to fracture the vote. And what are you going to do? Is Trump going to run as an independent when he doesn't get the primary nod? Because I don't think he's going to. I wish any politician would speak out about this Ohio stuff. I've long maintained that politicians in D.C., like all of the politicians, every single rep across the party line should be holding a press conference demanding answers about what's happening in Ohio universally, but a bipartisan press conference and saying, we need answers about this. We need to know why they burned off all these chemicals. We need to know why. They need to start immediately putting forth bills to provide financial assistance. Hell, don't send $100 billion to Ukraine. Send $100 billion to Ohio to sit in a fund. So all these, the kids that may lose their parents because of all these diseases that are going to happen, and cancers, brain cancer, liver cancer, all of these different diseases that are likely to happen because they are a side effect of exposure to this. It's crazy. It's crazy. They just don't care. You know what I mean? They just don't care. And it's sad. And I wish they did. I wish they care. I wish they cared more. I wish everybody cared more, Republicans and Democrats. It looks like we're not giving away a year's worth of coffee today, so which is fine. You can still do it. We give away, we do TV giveaways every single month as well, or TVs or sound bars or whatever. I'm going to let the members vote on what we give away. We do that for Coffee Club members. You see it down below. We do it for Coffee Club members every month, where I do a giveaway on the 10th of every month. This month, Charles B won a TV. Charles, if you're watching, please email me. I want to make sure I send it to the right address. But I don't know, man. It's we just live in a sad place right now, and it scares the shit out of me. It scares the shit out of me. It scares the shit out of me. And it should scare the shit out of you too, especially if you have children. Because what kind of country are we leaving, for our kids? When all we do is bicker. Like right now, there's so many things that the parties could unify on. They could unify on the border. You don't have to agree with how to deal with it. Just unify and hold a bipartisan press conference saying, okay, we have a problem. How are we going to fix it? We disagree on how to fix it, but we can acknowledge that there is a problem. Unify on the fact that this disaster in Ohio Unify on the fact that there's flying spy objects around America, apparently, if they're not aliens. Unify on the fact that we have a huge drug problem in this country. Unify on the fact that anything, homeless veterans sleeping on the streets, unify on anything. But they don't want to. They don't care, because the politicians don't have the best interests of you, of me, of my kids, of their kids. They don't have those best interests. They only have the best interests of themselves. And I think most of you guys know that. And it's sad. It's sad. Because not enough people are out there talking about it. Not enough people are. Someone said unity on the border or unify on the border. Yeah, and all you have to do is unify that show unity that there is a problem. And say, listen, we need to work together. And that would be the best approach to from a PR standpoint, if you're trying to get people to be engaged about what's going on. Imagine if AOC and Matt Gaetz stood together side by side at the border and said, we acknowledge there's an issue. We fundamentally disagree on how to deal with that issue, but we acknowledge that there's an issue. They don't do it. They don't care. All those people in DC, they're all fucking talking heads, but not a single one of them actually gives two craps about you or me or anybody else. And that's why they won't do it. You know what I mean? That's why they won't talk about it. That's why all these politicians that are from DC or that are from Ohio, all the state reps, how come there hasn't been, every state rep is talking out individually about it, but they're not talking out in unison. Imagine the show of solidarity that would show to your constituents that Republicans and Democrats are standing side by side as the president-in-chief gives a State of Union where he's marginalizing half of the fucking country based on their policies. People can actually unify and say, no, listen, enough of this enough of this partisan bullcrap. We have to figure out a solution to fix this and commit to in front of the American public that you are willing to do so. And acknowledge that there's issues. That's the problem, is nobody wants to acknowledge that there's any issues in this country. You got Republicans that are fear-mongering, telling the truth about all these issues, and you got Democrats that are pretending like they're oblivious, or not even that they're oblivious, that they don't exist, that the issues don't exist. They don't believe there's a heroin epidemic in this country. They don't believe that veterans are sleeping on the streets, or at least they'll never actually let you know that they know that those things are true. And until you have that kind of unity, until you have people standing side by side and say, listen, we disagree on how to get it, but here's the first step. We're going to acknowledge that there is an issue. They won't do it. They won't do it because they don't care about you. They don't care about me. They don't care about our kids. And it's frustrating as all hell. It's frustrating as all hell. But with that, that's going to be my show tonight. I will put this out there, okay? Because I need the coffee club members. It's incredibly important. We're so close to doing something more. So what I will do is I'll extend this deal. If we get 5 or more coffee club members in the next 24 hours, right? Either 6-month or year plans, 5 or more in the next 24 hours. So until 5 o'clock tomorrow, we will give away 1 year of free coffee. Or if you do the year, you'll get 2 years of free coffee, plus a gift certificate and all that good stuff, just like I talked about earlier. So if the winner, because we just need 5 total, but if the winner is a 12-month subscriber, then they will get 2 years of free coffee plus a $450 gift certificate to our store. And if the winner is a 6-month subscriber, they'll get a year's worth of coffee and a $250 gift certificate. Free to your door. Won't cost you anything. But hopefully some of you guys sign up for it. Sales are low today, so hopefully we can get it going. And I'm shaking because I went to the gym, but I haven't eaten since like 11 o'clock this morning, so I'm shaking. I have no food here, so I need to drive home and eat, which is one of the reasons why I'm ending it abruptly, because I'm starting to feel like the shakies, because I actually have to chug water because that'll make my stomach feel better. But yeah, if you guys want to do that, also when I put out the clips, and I may not even do it about this one, but our show is also on Apple Podcasts. So if you have an Apple phone, go give us a rating on Apple iTunes or whatever the hell it is, because I'm going to start putting out this podcast. This will air tomorrow. Well, it won't air, but it'll be tomorrow available for download on your podcast player of choice. And I'm going to work on the show to actually have like a full hour without me just doing constant coffee commercials or yelling at the chat or anything like that. But I appreciate all you guys. Like I said, we'll extend the coffee giveaway deal until tomorrow. And guys, you can also use Shop Pay. You can break up those payments. So if you do the year, you could break that into 4 payments. Make it more manageable for you. Same for the 6-month plan. You can use Shop Pay when you check out. All right, guys, I will see all of you tomorrow. I think there's a couple of hearings tomorrow, so I may be live around 10 o'clock. And then stay tuned. If you're not a member on Locals, you're going to want to, because we're going to start doing member-only live streams over there. But it may be candid. Like I may be on my phone at my house or something like that. I almost did one yesterday while we were at the Super Bowl, but I forgot to announce it, but with my kids and wife and all that. So make sure you subscribe on Locals too, so you can see those. But all right, guys, we'll see.